Real tough player to rank right now in fantasy football, not only 2026, but in Dynasty, is JJ in Dynasty wide receiver 5, wide receiver 6 to 10. Guy finished outside the top 15 through an entire season in 2025. Doesn't have the quarterback resolution. The problem's been the facilitating of the football. And as of right now, as we walk into week 18, we've got no solution in front of us. We have rookies that could be drafted. We have maybe a Lamar Jackson potential trade if he unravels in week 18, doesn't win this game against the Steelers. A lot to be known. We'll know more months down the road. This could be a video someone's watching in May. But right now we're in January. It's January 3rd. January 2nd where I'm at. January 3rd Eastern. And so we don't have week 18 story to tell yet. We don't know where Lamar is going to be. We don't know if Lamar being traded is going to be laughable later if he marches his team into the playoffs with a Pittsburgh Steelers week 18 win and then wins some playoff games. What if Lamar folds in week 18? What if we don't have any quarterback solutions at all for JJ? How can we rank him any higher than this range right here without those solutions? And how on earth can anybody rank him inside the top 5 without any of those solutions? How do we rank him lower than this, assuming they don't fix this thing in Minnesota to a degree? It's such a tough conversation to have, but we're having it here on the Dynasty channel. File on into the Graveyard Show. This is the Dynasty Fantasy Football Show.
You're watching a
Graveyard Stream.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Dynasty Fantasy Football Show.
I don't know. There is no answer. I know you're like, okay, well, Smitty, what's the answer? There is no answer. The answer is speculative. We have no clue where this guy is going to go ADP-wise right now as we head into Week 18. We have not a clue whether the solutions that are required and necessary to return this man to glory into the top 5, we have no clue. And if, let's say, they get another rookie in there that's unproven, I don't think that vaults him into some sort of top 5, 6 overall value. However, if he gets Lamar, if he gets, let's say, even Malik Willis could be a potential player that we would be very, very intrigued by. Kyler would be awful because he can't throw to his wide receivers. Clearly, he throws to the tight end. I mean, could it be better than what 9 is right now? J9 is awful. Do I think J9 has a shot at being somebody in the background that could rise back up if he got the right tutelage? Maybe. Hard to say, but no one wants J9 right now to be this man's signal caller. But what's the answer? What's the likely answer? Is he a fantastic go buy low player right now? Kind of. I think so. It depends how low you're buying him. Is he a good buy medium rare? No, he's not. But buy low, certainly. Mac Jones, yeah, that could be an option. Mac Jones, Malik Willis, rookies, Shadur Sanders, AR5, but there's a huge questions there. Kyler, Lamar Jackson. I don't know. They're not a plethora of options. I know JJ's an attractive piece to lure in one of the top candidates, whoever it ends up being. Hey, you want to throw to what was and what still is to a lot of people the best, one of the top 2 or 3 most physically gifted wide receivers in the National Football League. One that could go down as one of the best receivers to ever play the game if he gets his situation right-sized again. Do you want to go play football with JJ? The answer is going to be, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. It's not going to be no. And the offense has obviously got tons of potential from a let's gunsling. Okay, I'll come over and gunsling, and I get to throw to JJ and Addison. Let's not forget Addison's a nice, attractive piece as well for a quarterback incoming to say, let's do it. Let's ball. Let's turn this thing around. It's an attractive place to play football. And then you got the projected draft order walking into 2026, which this is very preliminary, okay? But you have all these teams that are in positions to get these signal callers, and you don't see the Vikings anywhere to be found. So can they move up to get a relevant QB, which really there are only 1 to 3 of them, in my opinion, and they'll all be gone, long gone by the time the Vikings get any sort of chance to grab one. But where, do they trade into the mix? Do they try and figure out how to get their hands on one of the rookies? So the rookies are very hard to imagine being in the future of the Minnesota Vikings QB room. So it does come down to, well, is Mac Jones going to get traded to the Minnesota Vikings? Maybe. Is Malik Willis going to land in Minnesota as a top starting option, and that's an attractive place to go? Maybe. Keep in mind, Joshua Dobbs went to Minnesota. Mobile quarterback. They tried that out. Like anybody, it's not like they have a type, is what I'm trying to suggest. They could go in many different directions. Minnesota, they're not necessarily married to an exact type of quarterback. They've definitely over the years flirted with different types and styles, and J9 certainly had his own style. Throw into the opposite to the defender, but look, imagine now. I know a lot of people are going to say, "What about Joe Burrow?" The option of Joe Burrow is not really an option unless some crazy things go down this offseason, which I'm just going to put that to bed right now and just say, is there a world mathematically? Is there an actual way that this could pencil out? Not as you would see it in normal terms. It would require something we've really never seen before. Something we saw in Stephon Diggs, taking away years, taking away guaranteed money, which was kind of left us dumbfounded when it happened. Even somebody like me that's been doing this over 2 decades professionally was thrown off by Stephon Diggs when traded to the Houston Texans. And then he said, let's take my contract and dumb it down to 1 year, remove all the guaranteed money and put myself on a 1-year deal. And that was something that no one had considered. Nobody had talked about a Diggs trade in that context. No one even imagined that it was something that could go down. For Burrow to be traded from a numbers and accounting standpoint, it would require, because the dead cap is so unbelievably high, there's no way it can work. It would require Joe Burrow to literally surrender his contract in ways that we've never seen before. But it wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world, because he would just immediately get a new deal with a team that was so willing to get him, they want to lock him down. And so they'll give him a brand new contract restructure right away. And so he'd get his money, essentially. He just wouldn't be taking a team and saying hey, I'm going to take your money and then I'm going to go get their money. He's going to be like, I'm going to surrender this so that I can go replace it with this instead of trying to double dip. A lot of players would just double dip. Russell Wilson double dipped. Russell Wilson is the perfect example of the opposite of this. Russell Wilson was moved on from by the Denver Broncos, and they owed him $35 million. Now, they could have said, redo your contract or we're not letting you go and we're just going to let you sit on the bench. And then he could have said something like, well, okay, I'll take, I'll dumb down my contract. All the guaranteed money is off the table, and then we'll let you move on. No, they just moved on. Russell Wilson became a free agent. Russell Wilson went to play for the Steelers for $1 million on a $1 million contract. And the Denver Broncos paid Russell Wilson $35 million, if I remember correctly, the exact amount, to play football in 2024 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Russell Wilson was paid $1 million by the Steelers and played for the Steelers, and also received $35 million from the Denver Broncos. So he got $36 million. 35 of it was just completely free. That's the reverse of what we're talking about here. Joe Burrow wouldn't be double dipping. He'd be walking away and then getting his new deal. Now, does that mean that this is happening because there's a possibility? Absolutely not. I think Joe Burrow's recent commentary and complaints were shots over the bow to say, hey, Bengals, figure it out. This is my warning cry, my warning sign. I'm howling to the moon right now, letting you know this better be fixed. Let's go run it back. And then if it's not, guess who's going to be complaining at the end of 2026? Me. So that's what Joe Burrow's doing. He's planting a seed for the next offseason where it becomes more affordable to move him, where he won't have to surrender his contract and he can double dip and still get out. If things were so bad, they couldn't win with Joe Burrow. He's causing, a ruckus. And they're like, I don't even know if we can win with Joe Burrow. He doesn't think he can win with us. Let's just move. Like, that's how crazy things can get really quickly in 1 year. That's next year, ladies and gentlemen. And that could affect JJ if JJ goes into this year without another signal caller and Joe Burrow becomes available next year. And then this thing becomes a repetitive conversation year over year. And we're still trying to judge JJ's value. Again, let me take this off the table. Joe Burrow is not getting traded in 2026. Boom. End of story. Put to bed. Not going to happen. Unless something crazy happens and Joe Burrow walks in and drops an upper decker in the private bathroom and restroom of the owner. And then we got some sort of beef between two players, or player and management. So right now, phone lines are open. Dial into the show. I don't want to hear, if he gets a quarterback, I'd rank him here. If something changes, I'd rank him here. And I don't want to see that in the chat either. We're live right now, by the way. If you're watching this on a replay, we do it live. I don't want to hear any of these very, very, very tiptoey answers. I want to know what it is you think right now with the information you have right now. And make your prediction as to what this guy's going to finish as from a wide receiver ranking perspective on coming out of 2026 and who his quarterback is. I want to hear those projections and predictions now. Rank them. Where does he finish? Wide receiver 5, wide receiver 3, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 10, wide receiver 15. And tell me who his quarterback is. And let's have that conversation. Not, if it happened, you have to predict this now. Now is time to decide what we're going to do. Phone lines are open.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
All right. I'm going to say this. I'm probably going to say his quarterback. I do think Mac Jones is a possibility. I don't know if the Niners want to get rid of that upside. And he certainly did well when he filled in. But when you think that's the way Shanahan thinks, he ends up using that player and trading him. Example, a case in point would be Mason. Mason had such a good year. You thought, didn't he prove himself? Don't they want the security? Walking into the next year, they traded him. So I do think, and where did they trade him? Minnesota. Sometimes it's about relationships as well. And if teams have relationships, it's easier to see that path and avenue of a trade. I do think Mac is a strong consideration. If I had to put Mac over here, I put Mac over here. I might put percentages by these guys. I think Willis might be, Malik Willis, Green Bay Packer quarterback, might be a possibility. I think a rookie could be, but I don't know if that seems very, very plausible right now. We'll put Kyler over here. So we have Kyler, Willis, Mac. Let me hear a couple other suggestions. What other quarterback might be in play? These seem like the three most logical, am I right? And again, dial in if you're out there and looking to have this conversation. Would love to have a couple people chime in. I'd probably say, unfortunately, I wonder if this is going to be the option. And Kyler doesn't help anybody. Kyler tries to help himself, and that's about it. Kyler is playing video games. Kyler can't see over the offensive line. Kyler presents a lot of the same problems that J9 presented, in my opinion. So it's hard to imagine this being a very good move, but I do think that it's certainly a possibility. Willis, if I'm Willis and I can go wherever I want, essentially. I think Justin Jefferson and Addison are very, very attractive. The offense is very attractive. So I think Willis could definitely be an option. And he's a mobile quarterback. It's an attractive player to add. Mack would require the trade. This would require the trade. This would not. This seems like the most logical. I'm going to say Willis, I guess. What other suggestions do we have for a quarterback solution other than rookies that I don't know that they can draft a rookie? Not one that's meaningful because they don't have a pick that's they're gonna be able to snag one. Mack would be best fit for fantasy. Willis should be the best option, says Paul. Tua. You know, I could see Tua. And honestly, guys, I know we want to crap on this Tua idea real quickly, right? But think about Kirk Cousins in Minnesota. Think about Sam Darnold in Minnesota. All it takes is and we know Tua can throw the ball. Tua can gunsling. There's nothing wrong with Tua's arm, and there's nothing wrong with Tua's physical skill set. It's here, no pun intended, concussions obviously, but this might be the solution. Tua might be the answer, guys. I mean, we've seen Tua throw the ball, and we've seen Sam Darnold and Kirk Cousins in many ways be disguised as a much better quarterback than I think they really were. And you again can't separate situation from talent. I'm not here to tear down Cousins or Darnold, but Tua going to Minnesota would certainly correct and fix some of the risk and I guess the holes in his game, and so I think that these two options might be they're all pretty decent. This one is the only one that scares the hell out of me because Kyler can just completely almost annihilate the value of JJ, similar to the way 9 did. J9 and Kyler are going to have a similar effect of diminishing the ceiling value of JJ. So it will be Willis, Tua, Mack. Those are all pretty good. Like, if any of these three end up being JJ's quarterback, I think he can start to deliver what Neighbors was able to capture to some degree. I think Neighbors is more QB proof than JJ. I think JJ proved he's not completely and entirely QB proof. I think we could put that argument to bed, which was an argument that people said 2 years ago when this started to go in the direction that it went right now for the past 2 years. Well, past year, really, what are we talking about here? I mean, can anybody with a straight face make an argument that JJ's QB proof? No, you can't do that anymore. Neighbors is more QB proof. His style of play, the way he plays, he's an amazing wide receiver, and I think Neighbors has every bit of a chance to be the best receiver to play the game in the last decade, before and after him. That's how good Neighbors is. And JJ's got that kind of upside, but Neighbors has the ability to, like, this isn't Neighbors can't say Neighbors is better than JJ. Right now, anybody might agree with that because JJ, it's funny because a year ago, you'd be called crazy. A year and a half ago, someone would say you're insane to suggest anybody could be better than JJ. But look what happened. I think, I think this is the only real risk factor here of getting a repeat of what J9 and JJ have been putting out in terms of JJ production. I think Mack is good. Willis is good. Tua might be great for JJ. Tua might be as good for JJ as Sam Darnold has been for JSN. No one thinks Sam Darnold's a great quarterback. He's a good quarterback. No one thinks that Tua's an elite quarterback. He's a good to really good potential quarterback at times. And in Minnesota, I think these three are the answer. Again, dial in. I don't know if the phone lines are working.
Call into the show. Call.
But if anybody wants to have a conversation about this, dial in and we'll tackle it real quickly. But what a topic, really. What a fantastic topic, because Lots at stake. Lots at stake because not only do you have a wide receiver that can return to the number one wide receiver in fantasy football at any moment in time, and that's what JJ is. He is that talented. But you also have an opportunity to sell off the upside that things will change before they don't. But you have an opportunity to buy on the upside that the current JJ owner in your existing Dynasty League is afraid things won't change. You think they will. When they do change, the risk of that this owner will no longer want to sell. There's no answer. It's a bunch of guesswork wrapped around JJ's situation that presents both a good buy low opportunity, if that buy low opportunity is the right price, and a good get out, sell, don't risk it, just get something safer opportunity before things get worse and you're unable to get out when you're like, damn, the Vikings really have no clue how to solve this. And they clearly are going down the same road. They bring Kyler in. Damn it, I wish I would have got out when somebody thought this was going to get better and someone was willing to pay for it and buy JJ at the thought process of things will get better. It's a confusing prospect. We don't know what the hell. We don't know which direction it's going to go. We're only guessing on a board right here, on a marker board. But it's fun. And I absolutely, Smitty, approve it. And I think you should too.
You've just been Smitty approved.
But it will be definitely a road where someone's going to be wrong. The JJ believer, let's revive this value. Things will get better. I'm going to buy low. Even if you're buying low and then you're wrong, or you're buying low, he turns into a freaking top 3 wide receiver again and you win leagues. So that's simple. Mac Jones, Tua, Malik Willis, we're calling your name, broskies. One of you step up and play with JJ and Addison, please. There's only one player here that I feel has 4,000 plus passing capability, though, which is kind of what you want more than anything, right? It's not that I'm looking for like, okay, could Willis be a better winner? Could he take this team to the promised land? You know, and I'm not saying Willis will. I'm just saying, could he? Is he have more upside than Tua or Mac to do that? Mac's pretty, I don't know, Mac might be pretty good. He played really well in San Francisco. But Willis feels like he's more of a dog. I think I'd rather have him if I was a coach. But Tua's a 4,000-yard passer. Tua can throw for 34 touchdowns in Minnesota and 4,000 yards. And so that's kind of what we want, given that there's still Addison in play, given you still got multiple hands and mouths to feed, right? So it does feel like Tua, even if he isn't the long-term answer from the Vikings fan perspective, it seems like the best fantasy fit. All right. I don't know if the phones are working. Let me restart them again. Hold on a second. All right. Try dialing in. Somebody try dialing in to test the phone line and give me your prediction here. What quarterback lands in Minnesota and what you think that potential quarterback will do for JJ and where you rank JJ after that, penciling that out in your head. I'm going to go ahead and commit to Tua Tagovailoa ends up being the quarterback in Minnesota. JJ returns with Tua to top, let's call it 6 to 10. We won't get too crazy. Wide receiver numbers in 2026. That's going to be my hope. How strong of a feeling do I have of that? Not very, 33, 33, 33, or even 25, 25, 25, 25, 25% chance of what I'm saying happens, but I'm just going to plant my flag here, but not with any crazy amount of confidence. But Tua does feel like, after thinking this out loud with you guys, thinking it all out loud, Tua feels like the safest avenue for JJ production. Not winning, but JJ production. Just like Tua was the safest avenue for production out of Achane. Everybody wishing and hoping for Tua to move on in Miami that was an Achane fantasy football owner because they thought for some reason having a Tua gone would make this team maybe make the right move and live in the red zone more or something. I don't know what it is, but wishing Tua out of Miami, it already seems to be a mistake for anybody that was wishing it, because now Achane, at least since Tua's been out of the lineup, has caught a lot less passes and has not scored as much. Not saying that transposes over to 2026. There's a lot of Achane conversation we can have on this Dynasty channel. But all I'm telling you is that Tua does throw a lot. And, we'll have to see. Again, with the draft order here, Vegas, Giants, Jets, Tennessee, Arizona, Cleveland, Washington, Saints, KC, Bengals, Rams from Atlanta. The Atlanta pick is now the Rams pick. Miami, Tampa, Dallas, Detroit. Quarterbacks are off the table, but maybe not running back. Again, why we like the idea of maybe a Jeremiah Love in Minnesota, or even a Breece Hall, ETN. Kenneth Walker would fit nicely in that system. But, there's also whatever, if Tua does land in Minnesota, my point is whatever running back ends up landing in Minnesota will probably catch a lot of passes because Tua throws to his running back. Rock Out, you're live. Hello?
Who's Rock Out?
He's Rock Out. What's up, Rock Out?
Yeah, I think we'll get the return of the Mac. Get Jefferson. He'll probably be like 6 or 7. 6, 7.
7? You think Mac Jones will be the quarterback in Minnesota? Turn on the Mac.
I think he has like the best fit. He's kind of similar to Darnold with the coaching.
What was his? Let me pull up Mac Jones game log 2025. I just want to make sure, how many yards was he throwing? I know he was connecting with Robinson a ton, and they were delivering for sure. We had 279. Wow. Let me put this on screen. Mac Jones, pretty impressive. And granted, this was San Francisco, so we have to be very, very careful that we're not. Hold on one second. Let me just grab this. All right, let me put this on screen here. So Mac Jones, this is pretty impressive. I imagine him getting JJ. Mac Jones in San Francisco this year. Great system, by the way. 279 and 3 tutties on 914. 284 and 1 touchdown on 921. On 10. Hold on one second. My screen's freezing here. Okay, on 10-2, he had 342 and 2 touchdowns. On 10-12 against the Bucks, he had 347 and 0, but 2 INTs. On 10-19 against the Falcons, he had 152 and 0. So he had a little bit of a bad patch there. Then against Houston, very good defense, 193 and 2 tutties. Also ran the ball 2 for 23. Giants, 235 and 2 touchdowns. Rams, very good D, 319, 3 touchdowns, 1 INT. Pretty impressive for Mackie boy. And that to me gives me some encouraging feelings, I guess, if JJ, ends up having Mac as his gunslinger, that the yardage can be there and the touchdowns can be there. And in that Minnesota Vikings attack, which will be structured to throw downfield, it's pretty promising. I mean, he's a leader and he's a dog, and I really like Mac Jones right now. And I did not admittedly like him the first year or two, and probably rightfully so. He didn't play well, but I like what I'm seeing right now. And Minnesota is very, very good at masking deficiencies and putting quarterbacks like Darnold and Cousins in a different light. So Mac Jones would be the most beautiful landing spot for him. and the most attractive. I don't think Minnesota, the more I talk it out, the more I think Minnesota's not going to have a problem getting one of these three guys. I just hope they don't believe Kyler's the best choice and trade for him. But with Mac, it costs you a lot less than Kyler. With Tua, it will cost you, I don't know what it'll cost you, to be honest, but they're moving on. And when teams decided to move on, it makes you cheaper. And then Willis will be able to be had at the cheapest amount. But Kyler will cost the most likely. So, I'd say Mac, Tua, Willis, then Kyler in that order, or Tua, Mac, Willis, Kyler in that order, either one of those. So, where's JJ? If Mac Jones is the quarterback in 2026 in Minnesota, where do you put JJ? And then I'll go over to DJ.
I would say probably between 5 and 6, but he could go higher.
Okay, DJ, who's the quarterback in Minnesota, and if not, who's the second choice? And this is what you're predicting to happen, and you can kind of lace in whether it's what you want to happen, and then tell me what JJ finishes based on what you think is going to happen. Where does JJ finish?
Best show on the planet, Smitty, and love the reference. Return of the Mac, good stuff, Rock out.
Turn up the Mac.
Yeah. But Mac Jones, and I think Rock out hit it, man. That system, I think he fits perfectly for that. So this guy, the head coach, he just draws up plays. All he wants you to do is execute the play.
Yeah.
And we've seen that with the quarterbacks that's been there, inclusive of Cousins, Donald. So I think Matt would be the best fit. Jefferson, top 5. I mean, I still have Jefferson as a top 5 wide receiver. I'm one of those guys, right, that would that still hangs on to that. Matt gets there, great. Then Tua. No. Maybe Willis. Then Tua. Then Kyler. Mac, Willis, Tua. But Mac would be my guy. I mean, it's a system. It's much like San Francisco.
Okay,
Didn't he come from San Francisco, the head coach? I might be mistaken, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. Well, real quickly, let me backtrack real quickly. Mac Jones. If Mac Jones is the quarterback, where's JJ finish in 2026? Wide receiver or what? Okay.
5.
So not only return of the Mac, but return of the Jettas. Return of the Jettas. You know, I can kind of see a video being made, an animation here on the channel where it's Return of the Mac, Return of the Jettas. They're on the dance floor, spinning around. I kind of already see it. Like, this seems like it's penciling out. Real quickly, just a little shout out to my boy Sick Nasty, one of the people helping all year long make a great year as a moderator. Appreciate you, Sick Nasty. And I'm not, while I disagree with Sick Nasty's comment, I respect the hell out of his conviction. And I also acknowledge the fact that Darnold, Baker, Mac Jones all came back from the dead. So, you know, while I disagree with what Sick Nasty said, I disagree with Mac Jones being a relevant topic here in 2026, in 2023, and 2024. I would have laughed at you. Darnold, I would have laughed at you. Baker, I did laugh at people that said Baker would turn things around. So, just want to say, I currently do not agree with JJM rebounding because I just don't see it. And I didn't, and furthermore, I didn't see it in the offseason either. I didn't see it, the previous offseason. I didn't see him translating to the NFL from that system in Michigan, and just everything was just very structured, and he didn't need to do a lot, so he didn't prove a lot, so therefore there was no resume to go off of. But I just want to acknowledge that Sick Nasty could end up being right, even though I disagree with it, because I didn't see Mac, Darnold, Baker, any of those guys turning it around, and all it takes is the right coach. Now, I don't know, Sick Nasty, that it's going to be in Minnesota. You say J.J. McCarthy will be the QB in Minnesota in 2026. I think where this could end up being right, because I don't think they're going to count on him personally, but I think where this could be right is if he stays there and let's say an injury strikes and he has to come back in and he just grows a little bit because it's kind of like his rookie year, obviously. So we have to look at it like we're kind of looking at Penix Jr. being forgiving, but I just didn't see enough at all. I saw one quarter where I thought this guy was the guy. One quarter of play, the final quarter in a game where everybody got excited for a minute, and then it just kind of vanished, the excitement. But I just wanted to acknowledge that Sick Nasty is a possibility he'll be right. But I don't think that I don't think the Vikings believe in JJM. That's the only difference. Is like, I'm not saying Sick Nasty, you're wrong, that if he stayed he wouldn't find a way to grow and mature, but I don't get a sense that Minnesota agrees with your assessment of JJM because they didn't commit to him in the offseason. Remember when I said, why are they not committing to him? They just continued to drag their feet. They kept the door open for Aaron Rodgers, turned the light on like Motel 6, and just waited and waited and waited and waited. And Aaron Rodgers went out for ice and never came back. And they just kept waiting and waiting and waiting. And then finally they're like, well, JJ's our guy, I guess. And so that tells me that they never loved him fully to begin with. And I don't think this season's going to make them go in that direction. I don't think the coaching staff can afford to bank their careers, which they really are, on JJ McCarthy being the guy. Now, could they bring in Mack or Willis and say it's an open competition? Yeah, I think so. Tua, no. I think Tua's too big of a name. Kyler's too big of a name. They would be deemed starters right away. But Mack or Willis, could they come in and say, yeah, these guys are gonna compete, and they have their favorite? Their lead dog would be Mack. Their lead dog would be Willis. But could J9 try? But that's kind of my take anyway. But I just want to acknowledge, Sick Nasty's take, and that I respect it, and damn respect him. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Again, I don't think this. I think with what JJ's shown, I don't know if they would give up on him. But like you pointed to, man, I mean, his system is just set up. I think they're kind of ready, right? And if he's not able to execute just that playbook, which is basically similar to like San Fran, find my quarterback, hey, man, you're going to drop back, this guy, Jefferson's going to be open. I promise you. I don't know, man. So he's got a great point because he's young. Maybe he hasn't, developed that. But Mack would be perfect for that. Anybody that's I think that's confident, quite frankly, I think could succeed in that system, which is why I think JJ might take the bench. So, but I get his point there too, man. Just my opinion, obviously. Yeah. What about Kyler in Miami?
Yeah, I'll say this. I think Kyler going to a place where, and I've said this, I don't know if you heard me say it on the main channel, Kyler going to a location where the wide receivers can expire is okay. Like he could help a team potentially. Like Miami Mike's got a good system. It definitely, there's a lot of speed there, and Arizona running backs have thrived in Arizona. Connor's been amazing for years. And so I don't see a world where Kyler makes things worse for Achane. I think Ewers can make things worse for Achane. I think Kyler can keep things afloat for sure. Throw it to Connor. I would dump off. Kyler can't see over the offensive line. So throwing it to Achane, they're like two guys hiding in a fort together. When they're inside behind the offensive line, it's like he can't. And so they're gonna have a good rapport if Kyler does end up in Minnesota. But say goodbye to Waddle. Say goodbye to the wide receivers. We could definitely see Waller if he was to stay, or they bring in a tight end. That a tight end thrive because Kyler does like to throw to the tight end. And could Waddle somehow survive? I mean, Kyler has thrown to Hopkins before. He has delivered at times to wide receivers, but right now he doesn't feel like he's that kind of quarterback. I don't know what to make of Kyler, to be honest. And you could blame a lot of it on Arizona, the coaching staff, the scheme, how they try and use Kyler. Kingsbury used Kyler very effectively. He had Kyler move out of the pocket. Kyler can't see over the offensive line, so you got to get him outside the pocket. And there was a string of years there when Hopkins was in Arizona and before Hopkins was in Arizona like when he was there and before and a little bit into it, where Kyler was one of the best quarterbacks in the league throwing outside the pocket. And DeAndre Hopkins came over from Houston as the number one wide receiver in the National Football League in terms of catching the football from a quarterback when the quarterback was outside the pocket. So that's why Hopkins made a tremendous amount of sense to come to Arizona at that time, because Kyler was the best outside the pocket quarterback. Hopkins was the best catching of the football when his quarterback was outside of the pocket, Deshaun Watson. And so the marriage was perfect, and it worked really well for a while. But the scheme also fit both of these strengths that both Hopkins and Kyler had. So Kingsbury was actually, I didn't want to see him go, to be honest, in Arizona, even though a lot of people hated him. But Kyler's got to be used the right way. You can't have him as a pocket passer. He's got to be outside. He's got to be scrambling. You got to give him space. The way I look at it is like, next to a freeway, if you guys have ever lived near a freeway or gone up to a freeway that has, that's really high and the walls are huge. Kyler throwing behind the offensive line is like standing at the bottom of a freeway and trying to see the cars that are driving up there and throwing the ball into the back of a dump truck. Like Kyler can't see it. So they have to move Kyler out of the pocket so that the offensive line's no longer in the way. And then he becomes a good quarterback because he's got a good arm. He's got some good instincts. He's got pretty good accuracy when things are perfect. And he can connect with the wide receiver or tight end or whatever. The problem with like MHJ is they'd run Kyler or MHJ during his rookie season, and they just didn't use MHJ well. And MHJ's, a lot of it's on him too because he wasn't available. The best ability is availability, and we don't know who the hell MHJ even is. But MHJ during his rookie season, they run him on a lot of go routes and just send him down the field to stretch the defense. And they'd run Kyler to the opposite side and run McBride parallel, or just get McBride and Kyler on the same page outside the pocket. And MHJ is just running down the field, but on the opposite side where Kyler's not throwing across the field. And so it's like MHJ is just stretching the defense. So it's like, to answer the question about Kyler, from a Kyler perspective, it's complicated. And it's not a player that can make everybody valuable. And you have to have the right coach and scheme to even get the most out of him anyway. And long-winded answer, could McDaniel's system be good for Kyler? I don't know. It depends if McDaniel's can morph and put Kyler in the best positions as possible. It could be a dangerous combination to add that speed to this track team type of offense. So it could be good. It could be bad. It'd be bad for the receivers.
Yeah, Kyler is good for Kyler, good for fantasy, in my opinion. But, he could be a receiver killer. Although, Cliff has it down. We see what he's kind of doing in Washington with JD. I'm not saying Kyler is JD, but in terms of the ability. And Miami's strength is running the ball, right? So if we think that maybe Lamar would be good down in Miami with that system, maybe Kyler.
Yeah.
It's
better than Ewers, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That could change if Ewers is still young. He's barely done anything, so it's not fair to necessarily judge him fully. Just like I judged Shuck. I thought Shuck was going to be trash, and he looks really good in New Orleans. I thought that Dart would struggle a lot more than he did this year without Neighbors and Scatterbo, and Dart stayed afloat, which makes me so excited for Neighbors, because if Dart can look this good with bare bones, skeleton crew, Dart's going to be amazing potentially for Neighbors and the entire offense. So, so I don't want to totally say that Ewers is trash. I'm going to try and give some of these guys a little more time before I completely write them off or start telling everybody they're nothing, they're trash, they're not going to be anything in the NFL. Sometimes I'd say in the years past, I kind of jump really quickly to those conclusions. Sometimes we're right on them, but I'll give viewers more time, but I don't know that they're even committing at all to him. So how are we going to see it? I don't think that if Miami walked into 2026 with Ewers as their only plan, I think Miami is just writing his own ticket to be fired, that season. But So I don't know if Ewers will be counted on. Ewers might be somebody that reemerges if like they bring Kyler in, Kyler gets hurt, Ewers stays on the roster, and Ewers proves everybody he's their Purdy. And it'll be interesting. I do know Mike McDaniel has good eye for talent, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I think we're seeing, and you guys could tell me, Rondell, Travis, whoever. I think that the coach, the X's and O's at that quarterback position. I'm probably not saying anything new, but I think it's becoming more and more apparent that you got to have them.
Yeah.
Say what we want to. McDaniels, May. Cliff was scheming up JD5. Brissett running, and I don't know about that OC, but Brissett, being able to. So it's becoming more and more apparent that OC and quarterback attachment. Yeah, man, very key.
Well, I will say,
I'm not saying anything new, but it's apparent.
Yeah, I will say though, like look at Petzing and look at Arizona for going back to that example. Brissett, so Kyler, Petzing, and Arizona's entire cohesive, offensive unit was not producing. It was very disappointing. Brissett steps in, plays amazing. Now, what do we think of the play calling? Pretty good.
Right.
So, sometimes we overreact, or the NFL overreacts, like getting rid of Kingsbury when things aren't necessarily jiving well, when he was a really good, I think, option for Arizona with the offense that Arizona had. Arizona, I forget what exact year it was, 2022, 21, I don't even remember what year, but Arizona was undefeated. They were the last undefeated team in the National Football League, I think through like 9-10 weeks or whatever it was. They were the best team in the league, and then injuries started piling up, and then the Cardinals fell apart. But they were a dangerous team. It felt like the Cardinals' year. And anyway, so I don't know what to make of, the play calling and like, especially Miami Mike. To judge Miami Mike yet is even tough, because we think we know how bad he is at this and bad at that, and he's good at this and good at that. But maybe he just needs the right quarterback, and then all of a sudden Miami Mike becomes one of the better coaches in the league because it all makes sense. Hard to say. Problem is, he's been pretty piss poor with a lot of things like time management.
I don't think he's a head coach.
Yeah, but maybe he's growing into one in front of us, and like a year from now, we feel like he is.
Maybe.
I don't know. Like Shanahan's a perfect example of he does a lot of things wrong as a head coach, but he's such a good X's and O's and scheme architect that all of the good that overshadows any of the bad goes to the forefront and the surface, and then you have him as a coach of the year candidate, no doubt about it. But all of those qualities that are putting him in that light of being coach of the year are the X's and O's. It's running the system. It's not the off season. It's not how he handles contracts. It's not how he botches. And it's not all his fault. It's John and Jed York and everybody included. But the head coach has a heavy hand in getting what he needs and what he wants personally. And it's Trey Lance. It's Ayuk. It's constant mistakes in the offseason over and over and over. They are getting overshadowed because he's such a good offensive coordinator. Like, Kyle Shanahan is such a good offensive coordinator and scheme architect that he might win coach of the year and should be definitely considered. And he does so many things wrong from a head coaching perspective. Like, people forget. Like, they just think, oh, you're going to make fun of Shanahan. But Shanahan is so good at being an offensive coordinator. So Miami Mike might end up doing that. Like, yeah, Ben Johnson's great. Ben Johnson's definitely in the running for coach of the year. But Ben Johnson's a perfect example of who I believe is the most well-rounded type of riser, where it's like he is a great head coach from all of the personnel, decision-making, off-season, carrying himself, like all that, and then on the field as well. So whereas like Shanahan's had a lot of trouble and problems of things that aren't related to when the clock is ticking and the whistle has been blown, the game has started. Like, that's where Shanahan thrives. Although he does run his players into the ground, they're constantly getting hurt, and so you do wonder about those things. But anyway,
Do you think? Hey, Travis, is Travis there?
yeah, he just
a
joined.
question. Okay, about Willis. I mean, like, could Willis be like just the league winner, like the dude out of all of these guys? I think he could be.
I like
particularly for fantasy.
I think Miami's a great fit for Willis in a system that he can use his legs. But I don't know if he'll end up there or not. But that's kind of where I'd like to see him end up.
Because from a fantasy perspective, Tua's okay, Max good, but Willis comparable to Mike Kyler with arm, from a fantasy perspective, which is what we're talking about here. And Dynasty, Willis could be that dude when you think about it. And did you see? He said he just never had. They talked about his time in Tennessee, and he just said, "Well, I couldn't answer the question about whether I'm better or not, develop because I just didn't get a chance to do that there or any of that."
Yeah, I think it was a bad situation for him, and I think I think it was probably good for him to sit for a year or so, like, in the long run, because I mean, you saw sometimes when he got thrown out there, granted it was a bad situation, he got tossed out there and it didn't look good. But I mean, I think a lot of guys that aren't the superstars benefit from sitting for half a year or something. They
I also
don't have
think
to sit a full year anymore.
I also think it was a situation though, like Tennessee, like because if you remember,
that's what I had said.
I love Malik Willis as a rookie as much as I've loved. Just trying to give an example. I'd almost say like Penix Jr. And so when he was a rookie, I talked up Willis a lot, and then he was just in a bad spot. When he finally got a shot, I was like, oh, it was amped, and he did horribly. And it was like one of those, it looks like a total miss on my part. But honestly, it was a situation. And so I think, Willis needs a good situation, but he certainly has the potential, because I saw it before he ever took a snap in the NFL that he had that potential. So it's not like a shock or, hey, is this a wild, performance, stepping up this year, looking good. We liked him last year. He looked good in spots last year. He looked great in spots this year. He's had ups and downs, but you're going to have that. Right. Even Mac Jones had those 2 games in a row. I have those right here where he had no touchdowns and he looked awful, right? So right here. 152-0, 1 INT, 347-0, and 2 INTs. But then 193-2, 235-2, and 319-3. So you got to see like a long sample, because sometimes even great quarterbacks like Josh Allen, proof by this past couple of weeks, sometimes great matchups can curb even some of the best quarterbacks. So you can't like judge a small window of time and say, well, the defense matched up perfectly for this guy, and we're judging him off of 2 or 3 game stint. But I like Willis. I agree. Yeah. He's definitely got some upside. Do you like Mac?
I think Mac would be great. Well, not great, but it would be a great situation for him in Minnesota, because and I actually think Minnesota would be a better fit for him than a guy like Willis, just because they seem to know how to deal with that pocket passer.
Yeah.
A guy that can just sit in the pocket and protect them and distribute the ball. Whereas Willis, he's a guy that needs to use his legs to get the most out of his game. Same with Kyler. And you see over and over again, when you get an offensive coordinator that either doesn't want to or doesn't know how to use a quarterback's legs to their advantage, they seem to fail. And that it could be as simple as that for Kyler too, that this offensive coordinator either wasn't willing to or didn't know how to, incorporate the use of his running ability.
Well, that's what I was saying about Kingsbury.
In Baltimore, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why he was good with Kingsbury. And like Mike McDaniel, I think, would know how to do it with a running quarterback. And obviously Baltimore built a whole system around Lamar's legs, and then got him to be a pretty good passer on top of it.
Yeah. Again, like,
Yeah.
you see a guy like Kyler scramble outside the pocket. Cardinals are the best team in football through, I believe it was 9 games that year, and then injuries.
2021, yeah, I looked it up. They were 10-2, and they ended up 11-7.
And I think they were 10-0 at one point. 9-0 or 10-0. They went 9-0 or 10-0. They're the last undefeated team in the league, I remember.
So maybe it was a different year. 2021, they went 7-0, 8-1, 10-2.
Okay, maybe it was 7-0 and then they went 10-2. My fault. That's the same year. So I must be.
But either way, they went
10-2.
1-5 down the stretch.
10-2 sounds right.
Brutal.
Yeah, that sounds right. Malik Willis.
But from a Jefferson standpoint, Mac Jones, because if Mac Jones Mac Jones gets there, top 5 for me, maybe number 5.
JJ, not Mac Jones, but JJ.
Yeah, JJ.
Yeah.
Well, if Mac Jones ends up in Minnesota.
Yeah, but it's the way you were sounding is like you're saying if Mac Jones goes top 5, and I'm just clarifying for everybody watching. He's saying Mac Jones,
absolutely.
JJ top
Right.
5. He's not saying Mac Jones top 5.
Right. Just going back to the topic. Yeah. Mac Jones in Minnesota, I think would be the best for JJ, and I think he'd be top 5.
And just a little refresher course here for everybody watching on Malik Willis and why I liked him so much coming out of college. Let me put his stats on. But this guy was a nice runner, just fantastic. So you look at 2021 down here, 28, 57, 27 passing touchdowns, 12 INTs. And then in that same year, 878, 13 touchdowns on the ground. The year prior, 944, 14 touchdowns on the ground. He's clearly a good runner. And, just whenever he stepped up onto the football field in the pros, he's looked great. So he's an exciting prospect. And, he's only, how old is he? He's 26 years old. Like how old is Penix Jr.? 20,
He might be 25. Penix is 25. He'll be 26 in May.
Yeah. How old's Drake May?
I think he's only 23. Drake May is he'll turn 24 in August.
And Bo Nix is he's 25, so he turns 26 in February. So like Willis is he is as young as Bo Nix and Penix Jr. and his quarterback. So like people need to realize he's not like he's some like 31-year-old quarterback like Brissett. So,
and these guys have played a lot of football, right? They're older because these guys have played a lot of football. So the transition to the NFL, as tough as it is, see Anthony Richardson and a couple of others being able to see the field. These guys have played a lot of football. So, given some time, perhaps they could develop. If from a dynasty perspective, if I had the space, Willis, I think, would be my guy. From a dynasty.
Well, he's interesting because he can run, and when you're talking fantasy.
Yeah, exactly.
He gets in the right system.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Silver is asking, is Brissett staying in Arizona? Yeah, he's under contract. He's a restricted free agent in 2027. So they could extend Brissett so they aren't put in a position where he plays really good and then he can get bagged. Like right now, he's not going to have a lot of leverage to be like, hey, I'm going to hold out, or what if they end up saying, well, if we're not inking you to an extension, Jacoby, we're probably going to draft a rookie and we're going to develop people under you and your job's going to be shakier. They're not going to like say it that wording, but you could easily go to him now and get a pretty reasonable extension signed that doesn't break the bank, but also is Jacoby Brissett saying, I better take this because I don't have any guarantees.
Right.
So, and he could always hold out later and say, I want more money. But right now, Brissett, is going to get paid. His base is 4.8 mil. And so, like, they could go to him and give him a nice little upsize, extension, team friendly. But he's definitely staying silver. I mean, there's no way they get rid of him off of the season he had. The only question would be, do they grab a rookie and develop him right under him? And the honest truth is, at the way that it currently stands right now, Cardinals at 5, it just depends on who falls, and if the Cardinals, I don't know if the Cardinals have much of a chance of moving a little bit. Yeah, because they're all 3 and 13. Yeah, hard to say. It depends where they end up falling, whether they can get one of those top 2 or 3 QBs. But I don't think there's a lot of potential past those 3 guys. We'll see. But they certainly could still sign Brissett and then draft a rookie and then try and have them develop under Brissett. But if I'm Brissett, I probably tell them, like, obviously they could lie to him and do the opposite, but I don't want you developing somebody under me. I want to be a starter. I want to be thought of as a starter. I want to be the only quarterback you want. So
at least for the next couple years. Yeah.
And the Cardinals might go that route. I don't know that they necessarily grab a QB. Like, because if they believe in Brissett enough to give him any extension at all,
right,
just build around him. Like try and grab. You need offensive linemen. You probably need a receiver. Because I don't know if MHJ's any good. I don't know. I'm not giving up on MHJ totally, but I certainly am not banking on him. I'll tell you that right now. But Cardinals have a good upside.
Crazy?
If Benson, it is crazy. But if Benson ends up being like more injured, like his injury's complicated, like there's another surgery that happens or another setback, because he's had setbacks that have just come out of nowhere. You do wonder if the Cardinals would contemplate Love at this 5, 6, 7, 8 territory, wherever they end up, or trading down to grab Love. But I don't know. Connor, what's Connor's contract? Because they love him so much. What is his contract? Is he a free agent?
I think he might have one. I think he might have 1 year left.
Because they're so pot committed to Connor, they don't see straight. Yeah, he's 2026. I don't know what the Cardinals are going to do. They always do what you don't expect, I'll tell you that. Probably not likely if we grab Love.
I guess they could get out of it this year at a $2.2 million dead cap.
I don't know if they want to. They love him.
Like I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think they'll quit Connor.
No.
All right, boys. Rock Out, you got any final thoughts? I'll start with Rock Out. Final thoughts or predictions? JJ?
JJ, I think be around like 5'6".
Wide receiver 5'6". Okay, so good outcome projected. He's getting one of Willis, Mac Jones, or Tua.
Yeah, preferably Mac Jones.
Can you imagine if he doesn't get one of these quarterbacks?
And Arnold came from the 49ers too.
Yeah. I'm sorry, what, Travis?
I just said if Shanahan lets Mac Jones go, because it's like he wanted to draft him, and he's got him under contract for another year, so is he going to let him go? I mean, I guess if he gets a good enough offer. But he could also just sit there and say, I like him as my backup.
I wouldn't, but you'd be surprised what I hear from my Niner buddies that are I'm not saying they've got all the insider information at all, but they're pretty well connected, and they're always talking about, and they were dead on Mason. They said Mason would be traded when they told me that. I'm like, why would they trade Mason? I didn't think they would at first, because he played so well, and there's security in that. Like, why would you trade Mason? Why wouldn't you just say, who cares about a pick that we get that doesn't even return a guarantee of any kind? We got Mason delivering massive production when we needed it most. It seems like a valuable find, but they're like, no, Shanahan's gonna milk it for what it is, and it's kind of the way he does operate. But the only thing that makes me think this could be different with Mac is exactly what you just said, that he wanted to draft Mac Jones instead of Trey Lance, is what I've been told by several people. And he finally got Mac, and that's why Purdy was very delayed in coming back. People act like Purdy's they've never wavered. I get people come in my comments and go, how do you feel now about your Purdy comments weeks ago? My Purdy comments weeks ago were spot on. My Purdy comments and commentary weeks ago were 1,000% accurate. That this team slow-rolled Purdy's return because they weren't sure if they wanted Mac Jones or Purdy as their starter. And they couldn't bring Purdy back and have him take over quickly. And his toe didn't take that long. Like, you out of your mind? It really was just trying to see if Mac was their guy. And they almost felt like it was, but then Mac got all mangled up. And then they're like, look, we're going to roll with Purdy. But Purdy struggled, and Mac was doing really well. And so, but anyway, back to what you were saying. There is a chance that they keep him and say, look, we feel really secure with both of them. But Shanahan, getting rid of Debo while he could, getting rid of Mac while he can, like, those are all things that Shanahan does do quite a bit. So we'll see. If it's not a good offer, they probably won't force the issue because it's Mac Jones, because it is a solid quarterback option. But, man, Shanahan is constantly shipping off people. John, too. I mean, it's not all Shanahan, but. All right, anything else, Travis?
Just the other thing that came to mind was, like, how crazy is it that, and not that we've heard anything about, the Cardinals trading MHJ, but just where MHJ is in the situation with the Cardinals, where Odunze sits with the Bears, and where BTJ sits with the Jaguars. It's like all three of them from that class are like, their future isn't guaranteed at all, And they're all such talented receivers too. You wonder what ends up happening with them all.
Yeah, I don't know. Man, wouldn't it be crazy if MHJ did get traded? I hope that BTJ or MHJ end up in New England. I'm not saying
or Odunze.
Yeah, or Odunze is my favorite, my favorite and most likely player to be traded of the three for sure. So yeah, Odunze, MHJ, or BTJ. Because I think that all three have massive talent. I think all three need a change of scenery. I think their confidence depends on it. And
New England needs a true number one. They don't have that.
I think Odunze would be the best because he was arguably could have been argued as my number 1/2 wide receiver from his draft class.
He's the most well-rounded.
He was,
coming out.
Other
guys did better things here and there, but he was so well-rounded.
And I was so bent out of shape when Chicago drafted him, and I was 100% right on how that was going to play out. Like, they just were going to misuse him. They weren't going to throw to him. They drafted Luther Burden to now replace him.
Burden and Loveland. So it's like, because Loveland's going to be a big part of that offense next year. So Burden and Loveland are going to suck up so many targets.
So if Odunze can find his way to New England before he kind of, I don't want to say sours, but there's a certain window of time where if you don't reach your potential or get on that track to at least go toward your potential, you derail, you never find it again.
Yep.
So Odunze's in a very, critical stage in his career where he needs to go become the one. Yeah, no, I mean, Buffalo would be good too. Exactly, Shane. I that's where I wanted him to get drafted, Buffalo but if I could get him to go anywhere now, Odunze to New England, 100%. He would be a top 10 wide receiver in New England, pretty easily. All right, DJ, any final thoughts?
Yeah. Someone pointed out in the chat that Mac Jones did what he did with, second, third stringers. He was getting beat up, to a pulp. He's a dog. From that standpoint and perspective. In terms of the receiver and Dunze and what have you, I don't know, man. I was thinking when you guys were talking, the way they slot these draft picks now, it's like, well, yeah, we drafted your first round, but guess what? There is a possibility that we would move you. I mean, it's wild because there is no time for these guys to develop. I mean, it's like maybe a system thing. I don't know. That's what we're talking about, right? Landing spots.
Well, we're also talking about
not talent.
Turnover in coaching. So you have Ben Johnson didn't draft Dunze. He drafted Burden. So Burden's his guy, and he drafted Burden for a reason. If he believed in Dunze, he wouldn't have drafted Burden. That's a kind of a telling sign. He wouldn't have drafted Loveland, like Travis just said. Loveland and Burden,
two different positions.
So you got to ask yourself, like, how expendable is Dunze to a coach that didn't even hand pick him out, and he can't stay healthy and on the field, and he's already getting passed. Once you have Luther Burden pass Dunze, what was Dunze, 13th overall? What pick was he? Once you have Burden past the number 13 or whatever pick he was overall, you're in a weird territory. Like, you almost have to, like, say to yourself, like, we've got a guy we can still go out and sell.
Ninth.
What, Travis?
Ninth
overall. Right.
Ninth overall.
The Dunze top 10 pick. Once Burden's passed him on the depth chart, you got a small window of time to say, hey, you want to still buy this almost new vehicle? You already drove it off the lot and everything, but you could still potentially get a return.
And the only reason why you can't say he has passed him is because Odunze's been hurt. And that's kind of the excuse you can use for now. But you already see Burden taking that rollover.
Yeah.
Odunze, no, wait. Those are fair points, and I get that. And I don't disagree. Just another side of it. Burden is the Ama. Odunze is not Williams, but Odunze is an X. Odunze can play outside. So
I agree,
the question is,
Loveland is the wild card. DJ Moore.
I mean, DJ Moore probably won't be there for much longer. So one could easily argue that maybe they're just going to keep, the two receiver. Like, you don't need to get rid of. You just have one wide receiver. No one's thinking that. But the thing that
Moore plays Odunze's position.
I know.
Moore plays at X too. So if Moore is gone, Odunze kind of.
I understand, but I'm just saying that there is a world where you're saying something very loudly when you haven't used Odunze, you haven't maximized the value at all, and there's games where he goes untargeted that you got to say to yourself, can we replace this with another incoming rookie, a Wan'Dale Robinson, a free agent? Like, I'm not necessarily saying that exact slot and that receiver that to move things. Or I'm not trying to solve the problem exactly. I'm just saying, can you replace this player and still go get massive return on investment? I just think that they're contemplating it because he's third in the pecking.
Dunze isn't going to stay quiet.
Right now, he's third in the pass catching pecking order, and that's not something that should be the case. So,
I don't know if I ever saw Odunze as one anyway.
Odunze could be easily a top 6 to 10 receiver in the National Football League. I mean, he came out of such an amazing prospect. What a player! But he's getting lost in the shuffle over in Chicago. So
that's why that's wild to me. It's wild because when you think about it, it's just that. This is a first-round draft pick, 13. So they're playing with monopoly money.
Yeah.
Because the idea that we can even talk about, which is an awesome thing, and it's a very real possibility, it's wild because the investment, because how they're slotted, it's monopoly money. It's like, let's move them. Wasn't my guy. Back before when you had those salaries, it wasn't even a conversation. Yeah. We had to hope and pray. You know what I mean?
Again, no one's suggesting the Bears are trading him. I'm saying I want them.
Oh no.
You know, like DJ Moore's lifespan's not that long, and again, no coach is going to go. Well, we got Loveland, we already got Burden. Now we should get rid of everybody else. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that when you're the number 9 overall pick and you become third in the pecking order, you have to make a decision. And the Bears might make the decision to say, we don't care about that. We'd rather keep. We think Odunze is a great third option for us in the pecking order, and we don't care about return on investment. That's the decision they could make. But you also got to ask yourself, if this is a number 9 overall player, you still have a lot of value if you don't believe he is who you thought he was, because you're regulating him to your third option on your pass catching pecking order. So clearly, what I'm trying to say is, if they don't believe in him and to put him in a position to be the prominent number 1, you still have an opportunity to get rid of him and give him to somebody that can. I love Burden. Burden was my third favorite wide receiver from the draft class. You won't find a channel that pumped Burden up more than this channel, period. That you can go watch that. So I love Burden. None of this is a knock on Burden whatsoever. Burden's a stud. He's the Amon-Ra St. Brown when he was drafted. We said that. I definitely was disappointed in the landing spot.
Really?
What?
It's a compliment to Burden, really, to say he could push a guy like Odunze out of that role.
So yeah, I was disappointed in the landing spot again because of the way Caleb, rotates around the wide receivers. But the solace was in that Ben Johnson, like AJ or Amon-Ra St. Brown, he would have design plays for him. He'd figure out ways to get Burden his carries, his touches, his wide back receptions that are designed for him. Snap the ball, throw it to him. There's no decision that needs to be made, like pecking order going through the progression. So Burden's got the best chance to survive consistently in the offense. Odunze will have 0 catches, they have 7 catches. They'll have 0 catches and they'll have 3 catches. So like I'm saying, for the number 9 overall pick to not be your priority, you have to make a decision. Are you willing to say, screw the capital? I wasn't involved in that. My name's Ben Johnson. That wasn't my selection, but I like him. I don't want to get rid of him. I don't care about what they spent, but he was number 9 overall. So if you believe that keeping him is the right decision, you'll keep him, but he still can garner a lot in a trade is what I'm saying. If you don't believe in him, if they don't know what he is, if they don't believe that he'll fit perfectly in their system, if there's a reason they're ignoring and neglecting him, regardless of whether he stayed healthy or not, they've neglected to get him the ball. So do they believe in him or not? That's the question. And if you put Odunze in New England, he blows up. He absolutely blows up. Top 6 to 10 wide receiver, in my opinion, in New England. A lot of players would be, that you put there. But I love Odunze. I wish he'd go there.
I'll say this and I'll hang up. It's wrong to think that Drake May, right, with a true number 1, what that would look like, because what is the problem? The guy is like wide receiver, like adverse. Diggs is eating because May is that good. Diggs is that good, but just to think about the fact that if we can get a number 1, and quarterback number 3?
He's been bouncing around 1 to 2 to 3.
Yeah,
depending on the.
And he's the best. He's got a 71% completion percentage, and he's the best deep ball passer in the NFL, which is very hard to do. So if you put a true number 1 in that system,
isn't he the best deep ball passer?
Crazy.
Isn't he in what rank is he all time? I know he didn't play long, but
it's up. Yeah,
it's right in
there.
That
it's
elite.
Crazy, yeah.
It's insane. All right, DJ.
Yes, but all
right, DJ, call in tomorrow. Appreciate you, bro.
Good stuff, guys. Best show on the planet.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Rock out. We'll see you tomorrow. All right, later, bro.
See you.
All right, Travis. Any final thought?
Later, Rock out. No, just the other thing with May too is I think he might have either the highest or one of the highest yards per attempt on passes too, and he's leading the league in.
And it's
completion
crazy
percentage.
because it's not like he's how
Pretty
many.
amazing.
Let's see here. Drake May. His stats are really, really unique too. It's like they're crazy. They don't even make sense. It's wild. Hold on one second. Game logs.
He's the best against the blitz in the NFL too. It's crazy.
Has
the
he
years
only
having-
thrown for
I mean,
300 yards one time in his career?
I think one time.
That's
One
insane,
time this
man.
year. Yeah.
That's insane. One time in his career, he's been over 300 yards, and he's already thought of being this good, and he's at this down and being one of the best downfield throwers we've seen in like a decade or more, with only having one 300-yard game is wild. Like, I don't even know how to compute that stat. Those two stats conflict. It's insane.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, like, I'll admit it. I said I think he can be a top 10 quarterback. I didn't
either.
see him being like a top 2 quarterback, you know. And I never saw him doing it this year. I thought he'd be pretty good this year, making some progression.
Yeah,
but I mean the jump.
Yeah, I remember talking about him in the offseason where we'd say things like, yeah, he could definitely show some promises here, and then like leading into the future years, like if he gets the right weapons, like this could be a good year to prove that he is the guy, and then we see where it goes from there. Like it is what a wild ride. I mean, he's exploded, and he's QB1 next year.
Last
probably.
thing I'll say,
I mean, Josh Allen or May probably. I don't think there's really an argument for anybody else. It's Josh Allen or Drake May, and one could argue Drake May with ease. One could argue Josh Allen because of the rushing, but.
For sure, yeah. And the last thing I'll say is, like, I just saw someone in the chat saying something about the schedule again, which I mean, you have to take into consideration. But last year, Josh Allen won the MVP, and I think his strength of schedule was like 24. A couple years ago, Mahomes won it, and the strength of schedule was in the 20s. Like, so yeah, it's a worse schedule than that technically, but like. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, he's putting up these numbers against any team, and he's doing this against any team he faces, and he's doing it with still an average at best line, if not worse, because they still have
average wide receivers. To be honest, I mean, Diggs has been good lately.
And average at best.
Diggs has been good lately, but he vanished for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, what wide receivers?
Yeah. So
what wide receivers could be traded for outside of Adunze even? I mean, Pickens, if he gets tagged and traded and Jerry doesn't want to pay him, which would be not that crazy to think about Jerry doing that, because look at Parsons. It's insane.
No, it's the wild card. You don't know. Yeah.
Garrett Wilson could get traded. That'd be unbelievable. But that's more of a long shot. BTJ, as we mentioned, there's no way they're trading Travis Hunter. And they probably don't trade BTJ, but it's certainly a possibility. MHJ, just a fun topic of conversation for trading a wide receiver, but we don't know if that's actually going to happen. You wonder if Lab McConkey is someone like, God, he'd be unbelievable with Drake May. He'd be unbelievable. Like, Lab McConkey be a top 7.
They could have had him. They traded the pick away. It's like if they had just taken that pick, you know.
But the way they don't use Ladd, you wonder if that is an expendable player. And if I was New England, I'd go knocking and I'd overpay. Offer you can't refuse. But I mean, can you imagine Ladd would be a top 7 to 10 wide receiver in fantasy for 5-7 years, 8. Be unbelievable.
He'd catch 120 balls.
I'm advocating now officially for Ladd and Adunze. I think those are the only players I see that really have the potential. I mean, Ayuk, we're going to see people talk about Ayuk, but Ayuk to me is not even a factor. I don't even care about Ayuk.
No,
I don't think anybody else
makes
sense.
And the thing is that they need to try to do something like that, because the free agent wide receivers, unless somehow Pickens gets out on the market, which he won't, they're going to tag him.
All right, you ready?
Away.
Ready to change your pants?
Guys out there.
AJ Brown AJ Brown, he becomes difficult in the offseason, let's say. I mean, we've talked about that before, but like that would be that'd be. What would you rather have as a New England fan? Given you guys are ready to win now, you might win this year. Would you rather have AJ Brown, shorter lifespan, but dominant for 1 to 2 amazing years potentially? AJ Brown, Roma Dunze for the long term, or Ladd McConkey for the long term. Choose your favorite. Everybody in the chat, drop your order. New England Patriot wide receiver. Would you rather see AJ Brown, Ladd McConkey, or Roma Dunze? I'll tell you my ranking after Travis.
For me, mine would probably go Dunze, and then I guess Ladd, just because he's younger, and then AJ Brown. But Odunze is my number one because I agree with you on. I mean, he's 6'3", 215. And he's still really. I mean, he's in his second year. Like that's 5 to 8 years of him.
I would say I like Ladd and Odunze kind of close. I think I'd rather have. Yeah, I think I'd have it Odunze, Ladd, AJ Brown. AJ Brown, I think Ladd and Odunze could be just as good as AJ Brown in New England for that first year or two anyway. So I think, but Ladd seems like the most intriguing.
Ladd's the most polished.
I don't know that they
like.
I don't know how they view him. So I think if you came knocking and you said, "Hey, we'll give you," and you overpay, and they'd be like, "Really?" And then they probably want to say no because teams are really weird about that. It's kind of like when you go to that uneducated owner in your league and you're like, "Hey, what do you want for Roma Dunze right now?" And they'd be like, "Why do you want him?" I'm like, "I'm not going to trade him because you want him." I don't know if that's how the Chargers would respond to it, but like they got QJ and Keenan Allen's obviously aging out, so you remove him from the equation, and now it's like the same thing as talking about if you get DJ Moore out of Chicago, then Odunze is not as expendable as you were talking about a minute ago, but it's still you still wonder.
But they have Trey Harris and Lambert Smith and Gadsden. Like there's still bodies like there that they like. So I will say though I think AJB is the most likely.
Yeah.
Especially if something happens and Philly collapses in the playoffs and gets knocked out in one round or something.
It is tough to decide between. But man, I do hope we get a wide receiver move like that.
I'd take a Dunze.
I do hope. I really, really hope we see, because a move like that it only enhances everything. Like if you take a Dunze out of Chicago, it doesn't hurt anything. It doesn't hurt anything there.
Nope.
It just improves the Dunze and it improves Drake May, and you get nothing but positive responses and production. You take, for example, you take Tua out of Miami, you get a negative reaction with maybe Achane not getting as many passes. So, like, moving one of these wide receivers, moving A.J. Brown makes Devontae Smith better. And it certainly makes A.J. Brown more relevant for a couple more years versus maybe 1 year. And it makes Drake May better. Like, I think it'd be amazing. And if Ladd McConkey leaves, it salvages Ladd McConkey more than I think. I just think then it helps, anybody else like in the wide receiver stable like Lambert Smith in LAC, but it helps May as much as it helps Ladd. But Ladd goes from like zero to hero, whereas AJ Brown is still going to be good and relevant. Odunze might still be good and relevant, once DJ Moore if he's out of the way. But Ladd, and I'm not saying Ladd can't be relevant with Herbert next year, and they fix their offensive line gets healthy and they get their running game established. But they clearly neglected Ladd and LAC this year in like obvious ways, the same way that Odunze was neglected in Chicago in obvious ways. So that's why I want those guys to leave badly, both of them, wherever you can send them.
Yeah, and someone brought up Kyle Williams in the chat, but to me, like, Kyle, you're much better served if Kyle Williams is your number 2.
Yeah, he's
wide
a 2.
receiver.
He's a 2. I like him, but he's a 2.
He's much more like a 2.
He's not even
Addison.
Addison good. Yeah, I was just gonna say that, but he's not even Addison good. He's
Yeah.
like slightly below. Like Addison could almost survive as a 1 somewhere. But I
Right.
think that, yeah, he's probably. Man, we would have said before the season started that's Michael Wilson good, but now now MHJ is that. He might be MHJ good. He might be a number 2
then
like
I was
MHJ.
gonna, yeah. I was going to say like Wandale, but Wandale just finished as the number 11.
He's Wandale's a stud. Like, what a bizarre world. Wake me up from a coma, and they're like, Smitty. I'm like, what happened? What happened? Smitty, you've been in a coma for 2025, the entire season. Wandale's wide receiver 11. Genty had his season wasn't trash because he salvaged it, but can you imagine waking me up and telling me that? What was the most shocking one? What's the most shocking thing this year? If you were to wake me up from a coma and I missed the entire year.
Would it be JJ?
Yeah. Probably would.
JJ finishes well, he's still got this week.
Or
I guess,
BTJ.
Right now, JJ is wide receiver 25.
Or BTJ, because he'd just been wide receiver 4.
Yep.
But I'll tell you,
Yep.
I'm not even just like blowing smoke, because I'm admitting that I never saw JJ falling off like this. So I'm being pretty honest, but I did have in my soul a little bit of doubt of BTJ that I wish I would have conveyed more. Just because he was very one-dimensional. I'm not saying he's...
there was always that little thing there, like, you know.
He rose too quickly.
This was a little fluky.
Yeah, he rose too quickly. He wasn't necessarily as polished as his stats were, because he hadn't...
He was just a freak.
Yeah, I mean, all of it was like just downfield, like big play. Like, he just didn't have as much dynamic, I think, a skill set in place. It felt a little bit shaky. And I wish I was more trusting of that kind of doubt. And it wasn't like a big doubt, but it was big enough that it kind of bothered me, and I didn't ever do anything about it. Every year we can look back and find that in a few players. It's just a little bit of doubt that it bothered me. I didn't address it. And
which is why I want him to get traded.
Yeah,
because I don't see that. I don't see that even top 7 wide receiver role for him if Jacoby Myers is healthy, if Strange is healthy, if Travis Hunter is healthy and playing wide receiver. I don't know how he can get.
If I had to identify a couple other players that have that little bit of doubt that, like, you're wondering if that seed is going to spoil the whole, like it's going to grow, I'd say, we keep trusting Garrett Wilson. We keep trusting that situation will be better. I think trusting George Pickens is going to be.
I was going to ask about Pickens. That was a guy I was going to ask you about.
50% likely to repeat, and then there's like a 50% chance that he implodes in the holdout in the offseason. And like, there's a lot of risk there, but I love Pickens. As far as like a running back, and I guess. Buck, like, if I'm being completely honest, there's some concern about Bucky. There's a seed there that's like we could just as easily go, no, he'll be back. Trust him. He'll be. But like, there's a lot of worry about that environment. Not saying I'm down on these guys, or I'm just saying that this is like the BTJ concern. I had the same feeling I did not vocalize, and I should have. I might take it into this year. Kyron. I love Kyron, but there's a seed of doubt there that could grow really quickly and explode. I'd say from the most part, those are the ones that come to mind.
I was looking up players here, and it's a little off topic, but Zay Flowers right now is wide receiver 12. So Lamar, even though Lamar only played 5 games, but the Ravens may end up having a top 15 wide receiver finally.
I guess they can't say Lamar never creates top 15 wide receivers anymore.
Kind of a weird way to do it, missing the games and having a down year like he did, but created one.
Yeah, I mean, how much of a
such
a hand did he have in it though?
Right, well, that's what I mean.
It's
such a weird season, man.
That's yeah, it's a bad year. I think we got to keep that in mind when we reference this though, and not to try and tear down Lamar at all or anything or Flowers, but for Flowers to be, what was he, wide receiver 12? To be wide receiver 12. He was wide receiver 1 in week 1. And he was a top 20 receiver or below or higher. He was a top 20 wide receiver or better, I should word it, 0 times between that week 1 game and week 14. And he still finishes wide receiver 12. That is, what are we looking at here? How is that possible?
And if you look at last year, with the amount of points he has right now, last year, granted, okay, he can get more this week, but the amount of points he has right now, he would be wide receiver 23 last year. So say even if he has 15 more points, he's only going to be like wide receiver 18, 19, 20.
Yeah, it's
the points are way down.
It's the injuries too, like, you know, how many players missed time that should have been ranking higher that didn't. But look at this right here. We have to remember to reference this when we're speaking about these numbers next season, right now. When we're speaking about this going forward, the fact that you literally have, as you can see right here, wide receiver 1, and then never again until week number 14 is he inside the top 22 wide receivers. Not one time. He was wide receiver 27, 89, 23, 29, 39, 23, 32, 31, 23, 27, 106. And then he was 8, 29, 24. He only had 2 times he was a top 10 wide receiver. The other ones were bad. Wide receiver 20 and wide receiver 24. Yeah. He had 3 decent. He had 2 decent games and 1 elite game, and he's wide receiver 12.
Right.
That is
and
insane.
He just hung around in that 11-point range so he treaded water long enough.
Oh my God!
Grab that ranking.
I mean, that just tells you how many injuries we had this year and how many busts we had. To finish as wide receiver 12 with this garbage is not worthy. He did not have a good year.
No, you're right. Because if before the season you said, okay, this is going to be his game log, people would go, I'm not drafting him where his ADP is. No chance. You
want to hear something?
Where his ADP was.
I mean, you just looked at it, but want to hear an actual number that registers? This is what he's done. 82 receptions, barely 1,000 yards, 1073, 3 touchdowns. One rushing touchdown.
Yeah.
So 4 total touchdowns, barely 1,000 yards, and only 82 receptions, and he's wide receiver 12. I don't want to hear it from anybody that says, "Oh, he was a great receiver last year. He was wide receiver 12." I'm going to remember what I'm looking at here, and we'll reference it. Yeah. I could have been wide receiver 12.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, it just goes to show you, the rank, the overall ranking matters. It's a reference, but you have to dig into the numbers before you anoint a guy a wide receiver 1 or whatever, like in fantasy.
That's great. I mean, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, there you go. So, see what Silver says there? Wide receiver 10, 13.6 points per game. Wide receiver 29, 12.6 points per game. So they're just mashed all together.
Yeah,
in terms of
real close territory. You're right, because it's wide receiver 20, Devontae Smith, 193 in this particular scoring format. And then Zay Flowers is 15 points away.
Right.
Yeah, crazy. But I can't believe we're looking at the number 12 wide receiver right here. And he had 1073, 82 receptions, 1073, and 4 total touchdowns, 3 receiving. That is the wildest wide receiver 12 I've ever remember seeing.
The number 12 wide receiver was only better than the number 12 wide receiver 3 times this season. That just puts it in perspective.
Wow. And if we go to RB, Number 12, Josh Jacobs, 234. So a lot higher scoring in PPR, but he had, just for reference of what his stat line looks like, just to see the quality of the 12 spot. 929 and 13 touchdowns, 36 receptions, 1 touchdown, 282. And then if we go to Javonte, who's 11, we go one spot above. We've got a 1,200-yard rusher, 11 touchdowns on the ground, 35 receptions for 137 and 2 touchdowns, so a total of 13 touchdowns. So it feels like the number 12 running back was by far more superior, not only in end-of-year number, but in just pure eye test on the stat line. Way more valuable running back 12.
And, and it shows you how much the receptions help the receivers, which is stating the obvious. But 10 more touchdowns, and then Flowers had.
Guys, okay, we're out of here, but I wanted to say that we need to stream for your boy to get the exclusive memberships back on the channel, because I slacked in the entire season. We didn't stream it all on the Dynasty channel, but we're back now. We were gonna not do any more Dynasty on. I was just gonna have it all on the main channel, but we decided to bring the Dynasty channel back. But it was dormant for 10 months, so we lost the ability to have memberships, and super chats are not even an option right now. You can't even super chat right now. But so it's horrible, but it'll resolve itself really quickly. All you got to do is just catch up on the shows, because once the watch time gets, I think we need like 1,000 more watch hours, which is real easy to do. Like right now, for example, we've had 50 people in here, pretty much on and off. So we call it like 40. And this is an hour and a half show, or almost a 2-hour show. What do we have? Hour and 45 minutes. So you're talking about 40 people times 1.75. That's this show right here from just the live viewers was nearly a tenth of the way there. So if you guys all just watch more videos, if you could, check them out, genuinely watch them. And just give your boy some more watch time, we'll be able to get those memberships and super chats and everything back. I let it lax. I shouldn't have done it. I pretty much shut down the channel for like about 9-10 months. But it won't take long to get back. We're already 1/10 there with this one show. But I do need to get the watch time up. So please, guys, put in your AirPod and go to sleep to some Dynasty content to help the Dynasty channel regain its gifted membership capability. Because remember, like New Age and those guys come in here and they gift memberships all the time. Even if you aren't planning to buy a gifted membership or a YouTube exclusive membership for the $2.99 a month to support the channel with the green name and all the emojis, one of the channel elites are going to probably be gifting those out. And so we need your help. Sebastian says he's got my back. Thank you, Sebastian. So get to listening, get to watching. We'll see, Chris. We'll go live. I honestly, I'm not really about the hires and lowers on underdog for week 18 because it's so unpredictable. But if I had to give you like one or two off the top of my head now, I mean, damn, bro. Probably go that Buka 24.5 higher. I know you guys are gonna say give up on that. Like, I mean, they got a lot to play for. You don't think Buka's scoring, catching 24.5 yards? Dowdle's still playing for $1 million, I think, right? And how many yards away is he?
He only needs, let's see. Oh, if he gets one touchdown, he gets 250,000. He's really close to the $1 million.
Does Sebastian have Rico Dowdle's photo as his avatar? As I'm talking about it, I see Rico Dowdle. I'm like, that is Rico Dowdle.
Yeah.
What's his yardage? I think it's if he got 100 and or there's like 70 yards. I think he got 70 yards. He gets $1 million. I think it was $1 million. It wasn't 250. It was $1 million if he got 70 yards. But was that last week or is that? I think it's on the year.
He needs 7 total yards to get $1 million.
That's it?
And then 1 touchdown for another 2. Yeah, and then 1 touchdown for another $250K.
So, well, you know what? I'm gonna go Rico Dowdle season here. Rushing and receiving higher on Rico Dowdle's touchdown, higher on his 54.5 rushing yards, and a Mecca Ibuka on the higher on 24.5 yards. That's probably my favorite 3 right now. If you want it, I'm gonna actually submit this right now for myself because that feels like money. And I know I'm putting a lot on Rico there, but I could just see Rico. You got to understand, man, these incentives, they always end up kind of happening.
Oh,
and
look
at that.
One thing to check. I know the Chargers are resting a bunch of people tomorrow or this weekend, but if Keenan Allen plays, if he gets 6 receptions, he gets $750,000. 9 yards, he gets $250,000. So they may force feed him the ball because they're just resting guys.
Yeah, Keenan Allen's a good one too.
Tony Pollard needs 66 rushing yards for $250,000. He has 85 plus yards in his last 4 games. The Eagles, are they resting everyone?
It seems like it. I mean, they're at least anybody that plays, it'll be hard to. I like this one. I think this one's pretty good. I think given that Rico's playing for such big cash money, and I don't think that he's getting the 7 yards for the $1 million and then they just call it a day. I think they're feeding him, trying to get him that touchdown, and so.
But they're trying to win the division.
Yeah, that too. And then Ibuka, like they're trying to win this game. It's an important game. You don't think Ibuka's getting 24.5 yards? Like that's a crazy disrespectful number, whether you think Ibuka dropped off or not. And if anybody wants to know where to do this,
he had 1 for 40.
Yeah, one
a couple weeks ago. You know, it's that one catch.
Underdog promo code Smitty, please. If you want to do any of these hires and tail them, just hit that link that I just dropped in the live chat. It's in the description of the video. Code Smitty gets it done as well. Play 5, get 75, win up to 5,000 times your money. So make sure you check that out over on Underdog. All right, Travis, we'll see you later.
Yep. Thanks, Smitty. Talk to you later.
Guys, I'm live. Please, guys, if you can, catch up on some shows tonight to get our watch time up on the Dynasty channel so we can get the gifted memberships and super chats back. It won't be long that it's on pause, but I just hadn't done any streaming, and I got a message from saying, that the hours were not where they needed to be because I hadn't done anything. But we're back, and it'll just take, a night or two's worth of you guys catching up on shows, legitimately listening, fall asleep, put it in your ear, and catch up, and let's get this thing back to rocking, and so that way people can come in and drop gifted memberships and all that. So appreciate you all. Don't forget the main channel is links in the description. Live Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, live whenever big news breaks, and live almost every night at midnight on the main channel. But we went live on the Dynasty channel here tonight to kind of catch up on some of those watch hours and such. So guys, please give the show a listen if you could tonight while you go to bed. It'll help the channel out. Appreciate all of you. Dose.